Welcome back to the show. This week we examine a much debated phenomena, Tunguska. In 1908, a catastrophic event occurred at the Tunguska branch of the Yenisei River in Siberia, Russia. Some speculate it lasted for up to 45 minutes. Whatever happened, the area was devastated, and the effects were felt for hundreds of miles away. Eyewitness accounts, over 900 of them, released when the KGB dissolved, were very similar in these respects. There was a long, round, chimney-like object with a tail of fire. It abruptly changed direction before disappearing over the hills. An end-of-the-world-like experience followed shortly after. In the wake of the calamity, a sickness developed among the local population that claimed many lives. It was later discovered that the symptoms of this illness mirrored that of radiation sickness. What caused this event? 1938. Chinese archaeologists discover a cave in the mountains at the border of Tibet and China. Inside, they discover the bones of buried creatures thought to be apes at first. According to the reports, the skeletons had large heads with spindly bodies and extremities. There were depictions on the walls of creatures with elongated heads, and amongst the items found, 716 disc-shaped stones were recovered. The strange discs were like stone phonograph records, with grooves spiraling out from a perfectly centered 2-centimeter hole. Reports vary, but the size was from 9 to 12 inches in diameter and 3/4 of an inch thick, and dated back to 10,000 to 12,000 years. The stones were labeled and stored at Beijing University for 20 years. Attempts to decipher them were unsuccessful. 1958. Dr. Sum Nui is granted access to the stones. Upon viewing the stones with a magnifying glass, Dr. Nui discovers they are actually tiny hieroglyphs after a pattern not seen before. 1962. Dr. Nui translates the stones into a story about a spacecraft that crashes into Earth. Unable to repair the ship, the creatures living aboard are forced to adapt to our planet. Stranded, they awaited extraction from a rescue ship. A ship doomed to explode several miles above the Tunguska years later. Dr. Nui was said to have published a journal in 1962, but we could not locate it anywhere. The story it told led to such ridicule that Dr. Nui left China in a self-imposed exile to Japan, where he died a year later. Many say this man never existed and there was never enough evidence to support the claims. Such as, how do you translate a language without knowing the basis for the code? How would you know if the symbols were letters or complete concepts? How did they date the stones if there was no carbon present? Other stories have surfaced as well, like the stones being shipped to Moscow to be studied and found to be comprised mostly of cobalt, or being spotted and photographed in a museum in China only to vanish mysteriously. If these Dropa stones exist, where are they? Join us next week for part 2 in our Tunguska series. That's the end of our show for this week. Give us a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe.